Hi, I'm Tina, and I'm very excited to be joined by Mary and Alex today, discussing a topic that is very, very close to our hearts, is the performing arts. It was brought us together, the reason we're here in this room today. And we're going to talk about why the performing arts matter.
Creative Spark. Episode 10: Why the Performing Arts Matter, Nurturing the Next Generation.
So obviously this is something I'm very passionate about personally. It is what I started with in the first place. But I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts and your journey as well of what's brought you here and what impact the performing arts have had in your lives. So what has brought you here today into the performing arts field?
Do you mean like as in teaching, like facilitating performing arts, or like just performing arts in general? And yeah, or like being in it and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so your journey in the performing arts. So obviously you ended up in this position now, doing those different things. But how has it started for you?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know, like the first moment. A lot of people have like a first moment where they were like, "Oh," and then I knew that. Yeah. I can't remember that moment. Maybe I didn't have one, but there was. I was in a little production when I was like maybe 10, called The Mouse Who Didn't Like Cheese. And yeah. And that kind of got me into doing like Saturday schools, like performing arts schools and stuff. And then kind of from there went through the normal drama, GCSE, sixth form, doing drama school, and then going, okay, I need to earn a living as well as being an actor. What do I know best? Drama. So let's like teach drama as well. So there's kind of both sides of it there.
Has it always been acting based for you?
Yeah. Oh, I've tried. Yeah. In my sixth form, I had to do dance, like all different dancing and singing as well. And I was so bad at dancing. Like I still joke with the teachers today that like I was bad, but I could style it out. Yeah. What about you, Mary?
I was just having a think while you were explaining your own story. I grew up in a very I grew up in a pub as well, so I feel like I was always around a lot of community, and there was always people like coming in and musicians and stuff. So I think I naturally gravitated to like wanting to show off a little bit. And yeah, can you tell? And yeah, there was like a kind of a majorettes. So they were like kind of cheerleading, and then they were like doing baton twirling and like pom-poms and stuff. And I was like 3, and I begged them, could I join? But I was too young, but it was like around the corner from my house. And I was like, please, I'm going to be so good. I was 3 as well. So like, I was like, I could do this. And I eventually, like, they're like, yeah. And my mom, I think, probably was like, please, like, she will not shut up about this. Yeah, so like I kind of joined from doing dance, but really for me, my main kind of asset was singing. So I did a lot of singing in church. My parents also were funeral directors, so I did a lot of it's a wild background. So like yeah, I did a lot of singing in that aspect really, really young. So I think I got into performing arts slightly like kind of different way, just by convenience, I think, for my parents as well. They were like, throw this in the mix of our business as well. But then yeah, I did like throughout school and like youth theater when I was in secondary school, and doing it in university, and kind of similar, like I'm an artist, I need to make money now. And yeah, kind of found my way into facilitating mainly, because I think that journey is so important. How people figure out, oh, this is something that like I can really learn from and benefit from, and this is also like a way of life, and it's really fun.
Yeah, exactly. Has it always been like about performing for you, and then you ended up facilitating? Or have you ever considered, oh, it could be interesting to do workshops and things?
Yeah, I dabbled in a lot of different things. I think I really enjoyed, especially when I was at university, because my degree was quite open. I did a very basic drama music degree. So I got to experience both quite in depth, and I considered for a long time actually being a stage manager. And it is, it's still, but I kind of was very much into performing. And then I was like, oh yes, like stage management. Then I realized that actually I feel like there's something else. Like I love performing and I love like the care that goes into stage managing. Like what else could it be? And I think just facilitation was like kind of the light bulb moment. I was like, oh yeah, like this is actually what I'm really passionate about. I'm really passionate about like people, like communities. And I think that's why I kind of mentioned like where like my hometown and all that, because I think all of that has led to here today. You know, that it all comes full circle eventually, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And you realize, oh, like, it all makes sense here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's so great about the performing arts is that it benefits and it impacts so many different areas of your life. You know, it like you said, it's a full circle because it starts from somewhere and it is part of who you are today. Whether you do perform or facilitate or end up doing something completely different.
Yeah.
Or even if you just perform, throughout your like childhood or something, or like even if you end up going into a different discipline, like a lot of the people who I did like youth theatre now are like nurses, they're doctors, they're lawyers. Like I think regardless of where even if you don't end up doing the arts, like in a professional capacity, I think like throughout your life, there's like skills and things that you really benefit from, regardless of where you end up, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, similarly, I grew up, I think it's actually really interesting. All three of us come from very different experiences and backgrounds. Like you're more acting based, you did a bit of music and drama and dance and all of that. I actually started in acting as well. I always thought, but then I started in youth theatre when I was like 4 or so. I had already started ballet, but I had stopped it. It wasn't like for me at the time. So then I started doing youth theatre, and then my teacher said to me, you need to do some dance classes as well, because that's like, it's all part of the training and the physical side of it. So then I started doing dance classes, and then for ages I thought I was going to be a dancer, and I was doing acting on the side. And then when I was a bit older, I started, you know how it is when you're training in dance and stuff. You never feel good enough because there's always you always chase the perfect performance, or like there's lots of like body image and how you're supposed to look, which is something like I've always felt quite different, Anyway, that's a whole different topic.
That's a whole episode.
Like basically because of that, I always thought, actually, I could never be a dancer. I'm not going to go into dance. I'm going to go into acting. So I focused on acting. And, such is life. Like today, I do much more dancing than acting, even though I trained in acting and I was doing dance on the side at the time. But this is what I think is really interesting, how we've all had different experiences, different trainings. We're all sitting here today, discussing something very, very strong, something that we're very strongly passionate about. So what skills would you say the performing arts have given you other than the skills of performing?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And like one popped into my head when you were talking about doing acting and then going into dance, because as I said before, when I was at sixth form I had to do the dancing stuff, but forgot to mention that because I was how old are you in sixth form? Like I mean, neither of you grew up in England, so I think like 15, 16, 17, that kind of age, late teens, well, mid to late teens. Yeah, for sure. But then but most of the kids, if you're doing dance at that age, have been doing it for quite a long time. And they've got 15, 16, 17 years of experience. I had no experience. And so I was in the class with the babies, the toddlers, doing tap, ballet, and they think like commercial dance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With children, like little children. I had a beard and in ballet had my leotard on, and then there was this big window here where all the parents would come and watch their kids, and me as well. And so one of the skills I got from that, couldn't care less about the dancing skills because I hated dancing, but my goodness, the sort of confidence that gave me through just sheer embarrassment. Like I find it so hard to get embarrassed now, like in going to drama school, no inhibitions or anything. And I put it down to those to those dance lessons where it was like in at the deep end, you're going to look like a fool for 2 years straight, 3 days a week. Yeah. I'm so grateful for it. Like, the teachers were like mates as well. They were friends, so I could get on with them in that way. It wasn't like just like me and the kids at the back, like just having a chat. It was good. But yeah, so like confidence and no inhibitions, thinking, like not overthinking things. And yeah, that's something big I've taken, and weirdly, just not from acting at all.
Yeah, that's a big part, though, isn't it? Of whether it's dance or acting, it's all about putting yourself out there, exposing yourself. It's quite a vulnerable thing, standing on stage or even like in class with people watching.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, self-confidence is definitely the biggest. But I think, everybody talks about self-confidence, to be fair, about the performing arts and how much confidence you get, which is so true. But I think there's also so many other skills that get underestimated about, that come from the performing arts. Yeah, you've had that experience, if you've taken a class, or even if you did it for a few years and trained in it,
Yeah, I think like one I was just thinking about, because I feel like you're like inspiring me. It's like problem solving. Like, I feel like you were, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like you were in that situation, you're like, okay, there's this like thing, this kind of barrier of like, these people are watching me, and you like figured out a way to overcome that.
Yeah.
Problem solved. You're like, you know what, I'm just going to keep trying and just learn and take it. And I feel like the performing arts in general, you do learn how to, like, I suppose, both in a group setting, but also individually, like, kind of overcome things. And I think that kind of plays into, like, self-confidence as well. Or it's like problem solving, like, there's a script or there's a dance move that I'm struggling with. And, that journey of, like, learning it and, like, failing a lot. I think a lot of people fail in the performing arts. And, and kind of learning to be really resilient to that and kind of problem solve it and, like, pick it apart, I think is really important. And I feel like I've really learned that and kind of able to rely on myself a bit to, like, figure that out.
100%. I think that's actually one of the biggest things, because it's this idea of the show must go on. No matter what you think, you're going to have that day, the show must go on. And you get into that mentality of like, okay, this is not working, or someone didn't turn up today, or the prop broke before the show, or whatever it is. So that comes from that as well. And I think, the improvisations you do, especially drama classes, and even in dance or music, when you work into groups and you have to create little bits together, I think that does make you think on your feet a lot, and it trains your brain in whatever situation you're in life. You just have to think on your feet, improvise, solve whatever the problem is, be able to,
quite freeing, actually, to kind of go, I can deal with whatever, like, throws at me a bit. Because that's what happens on stage. Like, somebody doesn't come on, or a line gets messed up. It's like,
especially like performing.
Yeah. Or like, you do a formation with someone and it doesn't exactly look like it. But I think, especially theatre, especially live theatre, that's kind of like part of the joy, is that it never gets replicated again the exact same way. And I think that's quite freeing once you realize that. I can do a lot.
100%. And there's also the communication skills that you get. You have to be able to communicate, whether you're acting or dancing. You have to use different methods of expression, even if it's not your lines. And
Yeah.
And then, being able to read body language as well.
Yeah.
Again, whether it's dance or acting, you have to be able to see what's going on. And on that, self-expression. Then I could go on forever. That's just fun.
Yeah. I think as well, like, even things like reading into subtext and stuff, you can become like, I feel like Sherlock Holmes at times, sometimes, because I'm like studying text and I'm like, unpicking why they might be saying something, or like what they want out of the situation. And then you see it in life and you're like, I know exactly what you want out of this situation without you've never said it, but like, I know what it is. It's so clear. It's so strange that, like,
it's up your mind.
I think it does, like, and empathy as well. Like, you've got to be able to empathize with other people, which, like, gets you so far in life, being able to be a nice person and empathize with other people's situations. It's another sort of hidden skill that the arts teachers.
I do wonder sometimes, though. I feel like sometimes I'm too empathetic to the point that
Yeah.
upsets me. I read that right here about that thing, and I can't stop talking about it for days. I'm not going thinking about it, brother. So I don't know if I think obviously empathy is very important. We have to
Take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Know your limits, I guess.
Yeah.
And the first reading, like, oh, I should. Yeah, I think it can have the opposite effect as well. Not that it's a bad thing, but mentally can affect you a lot if you're too sensitive of things. But it is a very important skill in life, to be able to connect and understand people and imagine what they're going through, so you can help them better or whatever you need to do. Each scenario.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So obviously we've spoken about all the skills that come from it and how passionate we are and how it's impacted us as people, which I think is really important, and it's great to hear your experiences in that. What, let's say, from your practice in facilitating, in working with children, whether you've done acting or musical theater or music, from your observations, how has it impacted those people in your workshops? What have you witnessed that has proved your point?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is kind of the discovery of it all, which I think, we were talking a bit about overcoming and the whole hidden skill. I think what moments make me really, really proud of the young people I'm working with is when they kind of discover something themselves, or they have the journey of I have a musical theater group and we do a bit of devising in it. But it all comes from them and what they're really passionate about. So this term, they're really passionate about deforestation. So we're building a show based on that. I know, amazing, right? It's things that people really, they really care about it, and them just kind of putting a story together and all the skills that come with it of communication, teamwork, imagination, and them kind of putting those building blocks together, I think is really gorgeous. And them kind of going, oh, I can do this. Oh, I made that. That whole process of them from the first workshop, them not being super comfortable with each other, to the final showing where they're basically in each other's bubbles. Personal space doesn't exist by that point. And they're just showing something they're really proud of. I just feel that journey is so glorious for me as well, for them. But yeah, I kind of feel I'm vicariously seeing, oh, you're doing that. You figured that out. So this is why I planned this, you have a mastermind as facilitator can be.
Yeah, it gives you the pride, doesn't it? You're
yes, it worked. They realize that they can do it, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I feel like I know I said I didn't have a sort of light bulb moment where I realized that this is what I want to do, but I feel like I've seen it when someone's come back after a holiday, half term or whatever, and the attitude is just, they're a completely different person, and they are just so driven, and they're this is what I want to do, even though they're only 13 or whatever, and you can just see them now, they're gunning for it. And that's the moment that I'm yeah, that's really cool. Weirdly, exercises that I really hated doing, and then only in hindsight, now that I'm teaching, do I go, oh, that's what that's for. These kids aren't projecting, for an example. They're not being loud enough on stage. I'm going to do an hour on projection. Really boring stuff, especially for 13-year-olds. But then when they learn how to do that, then there's nothing holding them back from being loud. When you're a kid, you don't care how loud you are. But then you get to 11, 12, and you start to have those inhibitions and doubts creep back in. You're not as free. When you get someone just sort of shouting their head off in a room, suddenly the rest of it melts away, and then they go, oh, yeah, I can do this now. I can do it. No idea if that answered the question whatsoever. But yeah.
That's the change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's so nice when you see somebody who starts out really shy.
Yeah.
And then each week you can kind of see also. Yeah. And kind of that, but those doubts and creeps of oh, I'm not like this person, or I don't get it, or this feels like trusting the process.
Yeah.
It's really, it's
yeah,
don't hold me back.
Yeah. But even when someone perhaps knows or decides that this isn't for me and as a career, but then you can know hey, there's still a reason for me to teach them because of all the other stuff that I got that isn't necessarily like the stuff we were just talking about, all the other skills that you get. So I'm like, well, that's so fine, because this is still really useful for you, no matter who you are.
Yeah, that's something I'm very passionate about, the skills throughout the process. Because for me, my focus in each class I teach, in each workshop, is just distilling, like giving them these skills through the whole process of what we do, instead of thinking one day they'll perform on stage, which they do, and they become amazing performers.
Yeah.
A lot of them like want to go professionally to it, which is great. But just seeing the development that comes week by week in the way they carry themselves.
Yeah.
Or the way they interact with others, when we have a new person in the group and they're so welcoming and open, and just listening to their ideas when we do teamwork, for example, trying to incorporate all that. And, that is also like a big aha moment. You're like, it's working.
Yeah.
All this group work we've been doing, all these like different challenges they have in class. And I had this recently, actually. I've been doing my older girls in one of my classes. I've been making them become choreographers every week. So we have a different choreographer every week. And in the beginning, they were all like, "Oh, I can't really choreograph. Oh, I don't know." They've been a bit shy about it. And then we did it after a lot of like pushing and like not giving them an option, basically, in a nice way. We had it. So we had a few of them doing it. And then we had this the other day. One of the students, she was teaching the class. She was teaching her choreography for the last 20 minutes or so. And she was talking the way I talk in class. So she was like, no, but we're going to do it dynamic. So like they like that. And she was using all these phrases and all these little things that I don't even think about. I just say. And when you teach for too long, they just become like
how your dialogue. Yeah.
And she was saying that, and she was like, she was just guiding the whole class, and I was just like, I don't even need to be here, weird way. That was like, I was just stunning. I was like, she's giving all the correct points that I would. She's like directing them in the right way.
Yeah.
And then there was someone who had a question, or she didn't quite understand one of the sequences, and then she just went next to her, and in such a supportive manner, and such a such a warm approach. She was just like teaching her and encouraging her and being like, no, you can do it. Just do this, just do that. And obviously, she like, it was
a proud moment, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's such a big thing, isn't it? Especially because I know like they were so hesitant in the beginning, and just by pushing them week by week to see them come to the stage where I was like, could hire you one day. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
It's like, I approve, sort of thing. All of them were great. I approved of all of them, of course.
Yeah, but it was just a really lovely moment, though. Like, it also shows because sometimes I feel like if you're a facilitator, you're just, is everything coming through? Am I doing, that kind of, but obviously it is, because if someone's able to take kind of the essence of what you teach and able to do it their own way, that's also a testament to the space that you've created with them. If they're able to replicate that themselves, which is like huge.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. I mean, it's so important. It's so lovely to be able to see that. Yeah. I think that's what gives you inspiration, isn't it? This imposter syndrome that I think we all have as creatives.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think I'm good enough to do that. Or you see someone performing and you're like, oh, I could never be that good.
Yeah.
And you get a bit like, oh, why am I teaching? But then you realize when you see the development and you see them every week by week, you're like, that's why I'm teaching. It's working.
Yeah.
Something is working.
Yeah.
I told them that. But I think as creatives, we always have that, don't we? We're always like, questioning a lot of things and like,
it's the whole journey though, because I always find like there's always a point where I'm like, oh, am I doing this the right way, or like is there a different way? But like, yeah, it does work, and I think it's like the consistency as well of like always showing up, always like providing like young people the same space, and yeah, it's like kind of like what you were thinking about in your example, like it does all come back.
mm-hmm.
You do underestimate yourself sometimes. Oh, is this the right thing I should be doing? And you figure out very quickly if it is or isn't.
Yeah. But I think also like along the process, you do have the doubts. You're like, you see something. I have it at least personally. I have it and I see something and I'm like, that is so good. Can I ever teach that? Can I ever do that myself? But then like you work it out.
Yeah. I have it like weekly about like just the arts in general, acting or teaching or everything. I'm just like, oh, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. Why would I pick up I could get a job in a bank. I couldn't, not with a drama degree. But just like, why didn't I pick a simple life? But then you just go, oh, yeah, it's because I like it. It's because I want to lead a happy life. Rather,
Running a business.
yeah, I bet.
Why we're doing this?
Yeah, yeah, be so simple. Move to like a little island somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, but I think, this resilience we were talking about earlier is a skill that you acquire from the performing arts.
Yeah.
Because especially as an actor or even as a dancer, whatever you do in the arts, you usually have to audition, you have to pass lots of different steps to get to a place where you're either performing or teaching. And I think because rejection is part of it, no matter how good you are, you will always get some no's. And there's this expression that I like, you might be the juiciest peach in the world, but there will always be someone who doesn't like peaches.
That's right.
Yeah, and I always think of that. So every time I get some critique or feedback or whatever, I'm like, okay, fair enough, but that doesn't mean I'm not good enough.
No.
Try again.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that resilience is a skill that we have. And I don't want to talk for you, but I think creatives, from my experience, I think we like to be challenged. We like a little bit of this up and down and the spice that our jobs have. And, sometimes you're like, reading down about it. Some others are like, okay, this is working and it's doing well. I think
I think it's like the ebb and flow of life in general. And I think I know myself wherever I've hit like a creative wall, either in like facilitating or acting or whatever, I feel like it's just you're getting close to something really good. And by the other end of it, like the other side of that mountain, it's kind of that payoff of like, oh yeah, like I can do it. And I feel like that feeling always comes back. And it's like, I feel like even with critiques, it's like, I can try again. Like, it's like, like improv, like, it's okay. Like, it's going to make me better in the long run. And like what you're saying, like sometimes it's just like somebody just doesn't like peaches. That's also so fair because I love peaches, it's all good.
And there's so many different types of peaches.
There's so many. And it's wonderful, just like the arts,
Yeah, exactly. And finally, I have one more question for you. So obviously we've spoken a lot about young people and how it shapes their lives and how the performing arts give all the skills that we've discussed. So a big part of our work, especially with Moving Waves, is working with the elderly or working with adults in different rehab situations, care homes, organizations that do community work. So how do you think the performing arts impact the lives of the elderly?
I feel like it's that sense of like community. I think is just like, I've done some sessions with Moving Waves at community centres, and it's just such a lovely way of people to connect, regardless if it's in a care home or communities. It's just nice for the arts to be a kind of a host to bring people together. Like some of my favorite sessions I do are like the live music sessions I do, because it's just people come together and we sing, and there's a common thread running through it, and it's lovely when when you get a participant who's like, and this brings a memory of like me and my wife, and then it'll like spark conversation between it, and I think that is like it's just really nice. And I like, especially when you're like facilitating, you feel part of it too, because you'd be like, oh, like this is a song between, like a really special song for you, and that kind of brings it along. But yeah, it's like good for your brain as well. Like I think that I don't know much about science, I'll be really honest, but I know the arts, especially when you're working with people elderly or who may have dementia or otherwise, like it's really good for your brain development, like throughout your entire life in general. But there's like so much, and I think the community aspect is something I really love about the older person work we do at Moving Waves.
Yeah, and I think back to the skills we've been talking about as well. That's also another, even though it's important for the development of a young person, for example, all these skills, I think it's also important for the development of an adult, no matter, what stage they're in life, because you need to be able to work in a team, or you need to be able to communicate, find different avenues of expression, which the arts are there for. There's that sense of achievement as well, and self-confidence, which is a big thing, especially if, you're in a care home and you don't get to, to do the things that you used to do, potentially, depending on the situation, obviously. But you get that sense of achievement and the confidence that, okay, I'm doing something, I'm participating in something, engaging the brain, engaging in like interacting with different people. I mean, so many skills.
Yeah.
Well,
I've not personally worked with care homes or community settings, but I've seen I've worked quite a lot with people who don't work in the arts but need to be able to perform. For example, lecturers and people in business, you have to give speeches or lead meetings, and the most confident people in the world to meet one-on-one find it so hard to give speeches and be in front of people and look normal. And it is so strange to see like a completely different person, and they find it so hard to just get out of their own skin and just do it. So I think there should be classes for just people in business, just, to rock up to a Wednesday session and just be silly, get them in leotards, get them dancing around. I think so. Like, I think it would do them so much good. Yeah. Because then if you can do that, you like giving a lecture on, water pollution or whatever is going to be an absolute breeze. And also I was going to, you made me think about memory, and if you're learning lines, you're going to have quite a good memory. Being part of a cast or working as an ensemble on something is, again, as you say, that community, like it's those connections, which is, it just makes you feel good, doesn't it? Like
Throughout your entire life, I think there's such good skills from the arts that I think sometimes can be a bit like not always taken for granted, but like, I feel like everyone should just do a drama class at some point.
yeah, 100%.
Better for
I think so. Zip zap boing.
Yeah.
Do that every morning. And
Anthem.
Yeah, one of the times I tried to introduce this the boy in like drinking games or with
Yeah.
they're trying to like, just have some fun.
yeah. Oh, me too.
This the point, like,
Yeah.
and then I try to explain, and they just think I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about.
People zone out. No, you'll love it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're watching. So, so I think that kind of sums up everything we've been talking about. All these skills we take for granted. We think, I can stand in front of people. Yes, it's nerve-wracking, but I can, give a talk without stressing too much about it. But that's not a simple thing for anyone.
No.
And that is something that we only have because we've done performing arts, even though we're not, necessarily on stage every night performing. It's just instilled in us because that's just what we've trained in, which sums up the importance of the performing arts.
Yeah. Massively.
The way to like end this conversation.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. We'll be back.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for our next episode coming up soon. Bye. Bye.